birthday, because there's a birthday coming up real quick, and I did not realize that this group had been around as long as it had. I know that it's very important, but we have on the phone with us now Command Sergeant Major Andrew Lombardo. He is of the Command Sergeant Major of the Armies of Reserves. And Command Sergeant Major, good morning to you, and happy early birthday wishes to the U.S. Army Reserves.
Hey, good morning, Tom, and thank you for having me.
Let's talk for a minute about the importance of the reserves, because everybody knows, and they've always been called. I have friends of mine that served in the reserves. They did 4 years active, and they did 4 years, whatever, inactive, or they did 2 years active, and then some reserve stuff. I have a good friend of mine that's still in the reserves now here in Ocala, and people think, they're just weekend warriors. A reservist is much more than just a weekend warrior, correct?
Yeah, no, 100%, and I appreciate that you mentioned that you're broadcasting from Ocala, and you have friends that are in the Army Reserve. I'd like to give a really quick shout-out because I have 18 Army Reserve units right in your local area. I'd like to give a shout-out to 143rd Sustainment Command, the 732nd Medical Support Unit, the 415th Military Police Detachment, and the 689th Engineer Company.
All right here in our area.
All right here in your area. We have over 8,500 soldiers that currently serve in the Army Reserve right in your area alone.
Now, a little-known fact about the Army Reserves, it started as a medical unit. It did not start as a combat unit. It started as a medical unit. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So you mentioned the significance. On April 23rd, the United States Army Reserve celebrates its 113th birthday. This year's theme is celebrating the courage of the Army Reserve soldier. And like you said, the Army Reserve was founded in 1908, and it evolved from a small group of medical professionals to the force that we are today. Over 200,000 highly trained citizen soldiers and Army civilians. The Army Reserve is in all 50 states and all 5 U.S. territories. I like to say from Maine to the Northern Marianas. Today's Army Reserve is the best trained, best equipped, and most ready Army Reserve in the nation's history, and we need to keep it that way. Our priorities are people, readiness, and modernization. We focus on our people because that's critical to maintaining our readiness, and while we're simultaneously modernizing to meet the challenges of the future. If I could say it in a phrase, we're ready now and we're shaping tomorrow.
I had friends of mine in the early 90s when I was in college. I had friends of mine that were in the 24th Mechanized up in Hinesville, Georgia. So now the 4th, I think it's the 4th Division or something, but at one time it was the 24th Mechanized. And right. They could not talk highly enough of the reservists that they had. They were all active duty, but they could not give enough accolades to the reservists that would come in and work with them during their 2 weeks a year and their weekend service and everything, because they understood these people would help them. They were combat ready, and if needed, they would answer the call. And it's amazing to me how much kudos these active duty members gave the reservists on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're really two different sides of the same coin. So everybody knows that the active component are full-time soldiers. In the United States Army Reserve, you can pursue a civilian career and you can attend college full-time and still serve your community and your country through monthly and annual training. And in full transparency, sometimes you can be called to serve active duty for mobilizations, either at home or abroad. The Army Reserve is 20% of the force for 6% of the budget. And that's pretty helpful to the American taxpayer. How do we do it? We share talent with the civilian sector. All right. We share high-demand skills that are often found in the civilian sector and are too expensive to maintain on active duty. Some of the skills that I'd like to highlight are medical professionals, lawyers, logisticians, cyber warriors, communication professionals such as yourself. And we even have some pretty cool dirty jobs like locomotive operators, plumbers, and engineers. In the Army Reserve, you can answer your call, live where you want, earn medical and education benefits. You can even pay off those student loan debts, all while building for a retirement. As my wife likes to say, in the Army Reserve, you don't have to make the choice between pursuing a civilian career and serving your country.
Well,
you can do both.
The thing that amazed me, there's 120 job opportunities in fields ranging from logistics and military intelligence to civil affairs, engineering, cyber, medical, legal, aviation, and many more that they can't list. And people forget the Army Reserves, a very famous person retired as a general in the Army Reserves. A guy named, an actor, Jimmy Stewart, James Stewart, did after he served in World War II, he went into the reserves afterwards to still serve his country, retired as a general in the Army Reserves.
That's right. That's right. If you remember Spock, we even have Leonard Nimoy that also was a member of the Army. Right.
So when people talk about serving their country as a reservist, this is something that can be done in concert with your private sector job, and your bosses at your private sector job actually. I know this, when I was in the hiring positions, I would hire reservists because I knew they were squared away. I knew they still had the military attitude and the squared awayness of the military. That leads to some advantages, too, if you're a reservist in the private sector job hunt.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's a win-win for both the civilian employer and for the nation and for the taxpayer, too. Some of the values that you learn as an Army Reserve soldier transfer directly into that civilian workforce. Courage is one of those values. The Army defines courage as not the absence of fear, but rather overcoming fear for something more important. And I'd like to expand on that if I can and give two examples of courage with our theme of courage for the 113th day of the Army Reserve birthday. So I'd like to talk about Sergeant James Wachowski, who was protecting a convoy in Iraq in 2005. His convoy was hit by roadside bombs and gunfire, so he engaged the enemy. And during the battle, an insurgent threw a grenade that landed inside his vehicle through the turret. Sergeant Wachowski had a choice: jump out or absorb the blast and save lives. For him, the choice was pretty easy. Wachowski smothered the grenade with his own body, and he saved the lives of 3 soldiers in the vehicle.
Without hesitation.
Sergeant Wachowski, without hesitation. He's an American hero, and his family received the Silver Star, which is the 3rd highest award for valor in the United States Army, to honor his courage and valor. Just last week, we awarded a medal to Specialist Justin McBain. He received the Soldier's Medal. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's the Army's highest award for heroism outside of combat. What did he do? He disregarded his own safety to save the lives of others. He's observed a traffic accident on the side of the highway in Racine, Wisconsin. So he ran towards the vehicle, and he extracted 2 trapped people by pulling them from the burning vehicle and saved their lives. That takes courage.
Those 2 stories are great, and the theme this year for the celebration is celebrating the courage of the Army Reserve soldier. I like to think of it, and this may be a bad generalization, but to me, that's how I think of it. I think the Army Reservist, the reservist in general, no matter what military branch you're in, but reservists in general, remind me of the guys that built this country. The Minutemen in Lexington and Concord that were farmers and civilians, but they were ready when their government called on them in a minute's notice to defend what they were trying to get, freedom in a new country, but now to defend the Constitution of the United States. I always think of the reservists as the modern-day connection to the Minutemen that made this country free.
100%, and I could even give you a current example. Just last year, over 4,500 medical professionals responded to the nation's calls. They put down their proverbial plows, put on their uniforms, they mobilized within 72 hours, and they helped American citizens battle an unseen enemy, COVID. They worked side by side with civilian nurses and medical professionals inside local hospitals to bring greatly needed relief to those medical professionals, and I'm incredibly proud of the service that we did last year to the American community.
We're talking with Command Sergeant Major Andrew Lombardo. Command Sergeant Major, thanks so much for joining us. And I would say thank you, sir, but my dad would get mad because I know you work for a living. So thank you, Command Sergeant Major, for all you do and for your dedication to keeping America free and safe. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks so much. If I could just say, to learn more about the Army Reserve's 113th birthday in service to the nation, take a look at us at usar.army.mil. That's usar.army.mil. And one way that you could help us celebrate is by giving us a shout-out on social media platforms by using our hashtag USARBirthday113. Thank you.
Thanks, Sergeant Major. Talk to you soon. We'll be back after this timeout. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pride.
The Biden administration is planning to announce sanctions on Russia as soon as today. Sources say it will target several individuals and entities. The package of sanctions targeting several Russian officials will be coupled with orders to expel some of them from the United States. The sanctions would be part of a set of responses by the U.S. government to a cybersecurity breach, which was identified in December and that the U.S. government said was likely orchestrated by Russia. Violent protests continue in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, as demonstrators clash with police following the apparent accidental death of 20-year-old Dante Wright. Ex-Brooklyn Center officer Kim Potter is charged with second-degree manslaughter in the shooting death. She has since posted $100,000 bond. A group of House Republicans Tuesday will introduce a constitutional amendment aimed at setting the number of Supreme Court justices at 9 in reaction to calls from Democrats to pack the court in an executive order by President Biden to study the topic. USA Radio News.
I tried other brands, but I came back to my Sunshine.
For the best hot or cold pain relief, get the best. Get a Sunny Bay heating pad.
Sometimes life can be a pain in the neck, or back, or shoulder.
And the best relief for that pain is a Sunny Bay heating pad. Did you know that the American College of Physicians said that one of the best ways to treat muscle pain is heat therapy? Sunny Bay heating pads are handmade with high quality, can be used at home or at work, and have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy.
Why take another pill?
Many people use our Sunny Bay heating pads alone and got rid of the neck pain.
Long distance travel or long hours in front of a computer can take its toll on your body.
Our homegrown small business tries to help people just like us. That's why we design and test our handmade products with great care before we introduce them to the public. You can easily find Sunny Bay heating pads on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com and search for Sunny Bay heating pads.
One get one free.
Hey, Matt, I know some